The Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA, has announced that the planned introduction of a 15% ad valorem import duty on imported petroleum, premium motor spirit, and diesel has been suspended. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu earlier approved the introduction of a 15% ad valorem import duty on petrol and diesel imports into Nigeria. The duty, applied to the cost, insurance, and freight value, was expected to increase petrol prices by approximately 99.72 kobo per litre. However, a statement on Thursday by the Director of Public Affairs Department, NMDPRA, George Eneita, said it should also be noted that the implementation of the 15% ad valorem import duty on imported premium motor spirit and diesel is no longer in view. NMDPRA also assured that there is an adequate supply of petroleum products in the country within the acceptable national sufficiency threshold during this peak demand period. Joining us on this show to discuss the federal government's decision to roll back the 15% import duty on petroleum products policy is Professor Ken Ife, an economist. He will also discuss the effect of the dollarization of the economy by politicians. Good morning, Professor Ife. Good to have you again on the morning show.
Good morning, Mr. Dr. Abati and your colleagues. Thank you for having me.
Well, Prof, okay, this 15% fuel import duty was introduced October 21. We have now been told that based on strategic consultations by the Federal Inland Revenue Service, the chairman of the FRS, Dr. Zach Adedeji, has now advised the government that this should be suspended based on market conditions, and that there are certain steps that should be taken. Local refining capacity should be looked at, basic infrastructure should be put in place, and the advice is that this should be done Q1, first quarter of 2026. The question I raised earlier, shouldn't these strategic consultations have been done earlier? Wills Ari says that this shows that government is responsive and sensitive, that after people reacted, now government has done this and government should be commended. The NMDPRA says, well, there's no cause for alarm, there is enough fuel supply. But all of this could have been foreseen. These are details that are foreseeable. So what do you think?
First of all, I want to underscore the critical importance of this particular thing we are going through. We got independence in 1960, and up till now, we cannot claim that we have got economic independence. We had political independence. I remember what Ghanaian president said, political independence without economic independence is just not there. Now, here, we are struggling with the primary sector in our economy, which is the oil and gas. And we have continued to see import dependency drive this economy nearly into extinction. And we have PIA that took almost 20 years to bring in. And then implementation of the PIA becomes even a greater problem. We have an NMDPRA that has to be more professionalized in the work that they do. Because what happens is that within the provisions of the PIA, Section 71A and B and Section 72, the provisions are there on public service obligation. They should have made their regulations, because don't forget, PIA allows you to make regulations. And so it is the agency that has to make that regulation, that has to go through all this process of making sure that there's enough regulation to deal with PSO obligation and to deal with DCO, the domestic crude obligation. They've done nothing. All we have there is that we have an organization that's behaving like a traders union. So the traders have actually taken over NMDPRA. And that is the symptom. What we are now seeing is their failure to deliver on their mandate. They have not told this country how much fuel is being consumed. And we know that the AFCC has gone into that territory to expose shenanigans going on there. We also know that when we shut down the borders, the thing dropped by about 30 to 35%. Countries along the coast up to Senegal, prices have to go up. So all of these are just shortcomings of NMPDRA. And nobody else should be blamed for this. Now, the president acting on the provisions of the PIA Act, even on the provision of the NMPDRA Act, directed, based on good guidance, an extremely powerful paper done by Zach, advised NMPDRA to raise the regulation and implement. The president has done what he's supposed to do. Now, Obasanjo said, I don't appoint advisors that I will advise. I appoint advisors that will advise me. This is exactly what is playing out. But where is support for the president? Look, WTO has 4 major agreements that back what the president has done. They have an agreement on anti-dumping. Are we not having dumping here? We're having dumping. And that's an agreement on this. We're dealing with not only the dumping of substandard goods, but we're also seeing predatory pricing going along with it. They also have another agreement on safeguard measures. You have to safeguard your domestic industries. And that's exactly what we are doing. Then we have had bad examples. You see what happened in Texas, 2 million jobs lost, and industrial graveyards in Kano, Kaduna, and Lagos. Are we going to allow this to continue? You've seen how they've killed NNPC refineries because traders are now running this show for this country. And they can't continue. So from NNPC, we've jumped from fire to frying pan in NMDPRA. Another agreement is the subsidy, what they call subsidy and countervailing measure. Now, we have subsidies coming from countries to enable these products to enter here, which is part of predatory pricing. And then also you have tax-free. So when you combine all of that, you will see that you need to raise countervailing measures. Then, of course, you have infant industry protection. That's complex, and modular refineries are infant industry by any definition, and they must be protected. So we're talking about strategic assets of this country that is going to confront this import dependency that does nobody any good. And then what you have is an organization that has been taken over by traders, and all that it does is just to fight for how to import and import fuel. And you are using the dollars that we don't have to be importing all this fuel. And if we are importing good quality fuel, it will be understandable. Yes. But we are importing substandard fuel that doesn't meet any of the regulations. Our ECOWAS regulation is 50 ppm. So for what they're bringing in here.
Yes. Okay. I mean, I hear you, Mr. Professor Ife, with regards to the traders, as you describe them, who are sabotaging the economy by ensuring that we continue to import. However, local producers are still unable to meet the demands of Nigerians currently. That's why people have argued that this 15% import duty would put more burden on the Nigerian people. Now, they're saying that they've postponed it to first quarter of 2026. Do you think that the challenges that have been identified by the chairman of the FIRC, Mr. Adedeji, would be addressed by the first quarter of 2026 so that we avoid the problems we're trying to avoid now by postponing? That's one. The second then would be, beyond this tax, what are other ways that the government can protect local content, local industries, especially in the oil sector, and discourage imports beyond, transferring the burden to the Nigerian people?
Well, you've assumed that we don't have enough production capacity, but that's not true. Because Dangote produces... They produce 45 million liters. They produce 45 million liters. Only 20 million is going into the country. There's another 25 million that the other marketers don't want to take it because they are giving him impossible conditions. So he's exporting those. But the fact of the matter is this. The president has taken a very bold step, and we need to recognize and support what he's trying to do. Now, look at the potential 99.6 naira increase. If you add that to the current gantry price, it comes to 960 something naira. That is $0.62. Ghana is per liter. Ghana is charging 1.37 liters dollar. Cote d'Ivoire and Senegal, 1.7. So Nigerian fuel price is still half of Ghana, 1/3 that of Cote d'Ivoire. Why don't these importers send their fuel, go and sell it in Ghana, and then make 100% profit, or sell it in Cote d'Ivoire and Senegal and make 200% profit? It is because of the fraud going on in this import scheme, which has been exposed by AFCC, and then you know that the first duty for NMPR is to tell us what is being consumed in this. They're not doing it. Why? They're supposed to have a standard laboratory that meets international standards so that you can see the quality of the food. They don't. They're not. Even NMPC all these years doesn't have a standard laboratory, but Dangote has it. They don't want to use it. What do they do?
The question I
it
asked
is a
you,
complete gang of go to Rome.
Professor, the question I asked you is, would we be ready first quarter of 2026 to address, because you praised Mr. Adedeji's intervention, would we be ready by first quarter of 2026 to have dealt with the issues identified? And then number two, what are other ways that the government can protect local industries? Because that's part of the reasons for the 15% import duty on petrol.
I can see some of the reason why you may want to postpone a little bit, because under the WTO rules, there needs to be an interval, a reasonable interval between enactment and going into force. So I can say that maybe that 1 month may not be sufficient. But the NMPDRA has been directed to do this. They've not done anything. If they don't know how to write regulation, I can write the regulation for them. Rather than write the regulation, because it is at the point of writing the regulation, you don't go back to, when you have delegated power, you don't go back to the National Assembly. You can now do the regulation, consult who needs to be consulted, and then gazette it. And you start implementing. They're not even doing that. They're running around with traders trying to what? And look at the language they are using. They're not even using the language of postponement. They're saying not in view. What are you doing? They're saying not in view, which means that they think that they have cancelled it. That is not how we're going to run this country. This country is bigger than any person or any institution. And we have to protect our industries. Now you are going to, and I haven't even dealt with the price parity. Because I can describe that parity to show that that is where we need to be.
Okay. So, Prof, we've been in the middle of this fight because both parties have come here when they were having their fight as regards pricing. And they said Dangote should reduce price, but Dangote said they're asking for the impossible. What concerns us as citizens is the fact that since they are not taking fully from Dangote, Dangote is churning out 20 million liters and it has to sell the rest because these same marketers are not taking fully. Wherever they are getting it from, if you put a 15% tax, it's going to affect us because they will pass down the cost to us. But the biggest question is, how can we get these marketers on the table to buy the remaining Dangote fuel? Because if we solve that now, everybody will be happy. But it seems these marketers, maybe because they have other agenda, they don't want to buy it. And we sell off what is not even enough for the local market, what we can mop up in the local markets. So I think that's a bone of contention now. Or is it that these marketers are a total lost cause? So we need to fight them with this 15% tariff as stated maybe by many international laws to protect local industry. Is that what we'll have to do? Because both have to come together, but they seem to be at loggerheads as we speak.
You know, the yardstick to measure this is the extent to which Nigeria can get away from this import dependency syndrome, and then the fact that we have to look. God has given you certain things. He's giving you gas, gas, crude, mineral resources, and then agriculture. You have a God-given right, inalienable right to develop and add value to these things. Whoever contrives to deny you that possibility, you're going to have to fight it. Obasanjo did deal with the cement, and we saw when he did backward integration, look, from 20% self-sufficiency to over 100%. And we are now exporting clinkers to many African countries. Now, even 1 year before 1 year anniversary of Dangote producing food, they are now going to go to the capital market and they're exporting all this all over Africa. We spent $20 billion Africa last year in importing food products. Nigeria spent $10 billion of that. So we need to know, you people who wear the shoe know where it hurts the most. We have to get this agency to do what they're supposed to do.
No, but Prof,
they are not doing the work. They are just playing to the gallery.
Prof, you've not answered my question. How can we get these other marketers to buy from Dangote and settle the problem? Because as we speak today, none of those things, even that 2026 threshold is not going to happen because you are not going to have the conditions conducive enough So that 2026 is just kicking the count down the road. Yeah. It's not going to happen. Let's stop deceiving ourselves in this country. I'm a very blunt person. I don't like deceits. So how can we get these marketers to buy from Dangote so that we can solve this problem? Even if we start off first, they take the remaining 5 million or 10 million liters. That's just it. And in a case where Dangote refinery stops working and we are all pushed in a cul-de-sac, that's a part of the challenge is what will happen.
I understand. You are saying to me, you don't have all your eggs in one basket.
Yes.
But Dangote is putting a second line of 1.4 to 1.4 million liters. So it's not likely that it's going to happen. The fact of the matter is that this pressure is necessary, and I was going to justify the reason why you have to have that 15%. Given that that is in place, it will be a motive for these marketers to come and negotiate. Because Dangote wants to sell to them, they are giving you a possible condition because they have a more lucrative business, sending in substandard fuels in this country that are injurious to our health. So the second point, of course, is this. Second point on this is why don't they go and take the dead refineries of NNPC? Let them go and run them. Take them. The union should take them free. Go and run them because you return the 750 million they paid in 2015.
We're running out.
Then let them go and start their own modular refineries.
If you can hear me, Prof, we're running out of time. Very briefly, as briefly as possible, all these long explanations won't serve our purpose. Zak Adidiji, the chairman of NMDPRA, made a number of recommendations. He said, one, we have to be sure that local refining infrastructure is fully prepared. I'm reading from the notes I took. Technical and operational frameworks are properly aligned. Fuel disruption is minimized before that 15% can be introduced. What do you think of those recommendations? And are those recommendations achievable between now and the first quarter of 2026? Briefly,
now,
please.
those recommendations are okay because they are part of due diligence that needs to be carried out. Unfortunately, the NMDA have not done all this, but we do know that those capacities exist within the country. But it is tying up the knots. And then you can only do this when you have a commitment to enforce the law. That is that commitment. When the government maintains a commitment to enforce the law, the people will stop misbehaving. And then go and set up rural refineries and build one. So that's part of the resilience. Or go and take up a dead one and get it to move as part of the resilience. Then allow an investment condition that brings more investors into the modular refineries. All of these three things are important in addressing that kind of resolution and stability that we're asking for. But they are not looking at these alternatives. They just want to continue business as usual because it pays them. And the NNPA is just not interested in enforcing anything. So that's the issue. You can't have 45 million litre in the country, guaranteed price, and then the price has even dropped and is going to continue to drop. And then you have a failure to implement DCO, which is making the refineries pay extra $3.5 premium.
Will this price be forever, or once they get market dominance, the price will go up? Those are the fear of people.
Yes.
Will this price be forever, or once they get market dominance, the price will go up?
Rufai is not so. It's not so because I have listened to Dangote extend the hands of friendship to 30 refiners license. Come together, let's work and have this country as a refining hub for Africa.
Prof. Thank you very much. It is
what he's saying. It's not what he's doing. It's what he's saying. Come, let's work together.
Thank you, Prof.
So he's going to go to market early next year and have all the Nigerians take share. So if it's a monopoly, let all the Nigerians do the monopoly.
Okay, Prof. I see you have a lot of issues with the regulator, NMDPRA. Hopefully, NMDPRA will send someone to this table to come and explain their own side of the story. Thank you very much, Professor Ken Ife.